What's up, blurbs? Welcome back to Blur the Lines, the podcast where we challenge the status quo and dive deep into the why. I'm Ivan.
And I'm CJ. Today we look into the world of philosophy. We'll be discussing the books Allegory of the Cave by Plato and Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. This is part one of a two-part series.
So sit back, grab a drink, relax, think with us a little, and if you have any comments, please write them down below. You can follow us on any platform for podcasts or on YouTube. Also email us any questions or suggestions at our email address at blurthelinespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you and enjoy. Into Blur the Lines, baby. The number one podcast on the east side of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
Obviously, because Joe Rogan's in... Oh, we're recording. All right. Well, we're still the number one podcast on the east side of the Mississippi. We are. Come on. Who's got us beat?
Or you show it.
Yeah, who's got us beat? You can't, because they're all on the West Coast.
Yeah, fair enough.
West Coast or Texas?
Texas technically is on the East Coast, so we're fine.
It's definitely not on the East Coast.
I mean, it touches the Gulf, which is technically...
That's a stretch. I think it's like the southern coast.
Yeah. Anyway, what are you drinking tonight?
All right. Today I will be drinking from the Fountain of Youth. Good old-fashioned water, brought to you by the tap.
You know, myself a little rooibos tea.
Wow, fancy.
You should try it. People that have it. It's like South African tea. It's only found in South Africa. Well, South African tea. But I was gonna say the bushes are only found in South Africa where the tea is made from. So yeah.
The rooibos bush?
The rooibos bush. The term rooibos actually means red bush.
So if you're in South Africa and you see a red bush, you can make tea out of it. Grab those leaves. Yeah, no, new year, new me. I think until the next one, and then probably change it up. But for now, water. Cheers.
Alright, so today we're diving a little bit into the deeper depths of our mind. We're tackling philosophical topics. If you followed along in the previous episode, I'll be doing Plato's work. He's a really interesting philosopher.
What's the name of the book?
The Allegory of the Cave. So the Allegory of the Cave is actually part of a book series that he did, and it's the 7th book out of the series. I wrote it down. I just want to confirm. Oh, the Republic. So Plato had this whole series of books of what it is to be just and where justice can come from. So the Allegory of the Cave is probably the most famous or the most used philosophical book to start off with. Every philosophy professor, every intro philosophy class definitely covers this book. I've done it before, but I feel like I had to do it a little bit more in depth, so that's why I chose it. I've read the book before, but now I feel like I'm way more mature. I have a greater understanding, I'm not like a tween.
Yeah, true. You've been through life a little bit. Yeah. You have a better understanding of life.
But yeah, what are you doing? What you got for us?
We're talking on philosophy. Mine is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Interestingly enough, this is one of the top 10 books that Americans want to ban, actually. And I think it's banned in Ireland as well. So I understand it, but if anyone out there doesn't like something that I say, I'm just regurgitating what the book says. I'll throw in some of my own thoughts as well. But it's a really interesting book based around Huxley's view of a dystopian society. So it's actually a negative world and based around futuristic events or thoughts of how science can affect the world and how it can take over the world. He also has another book called Island, I believe it is, which is his views on a utopian society. So after reading this one, I'm kind of interested to see what
dystopian versus utopian.
Yeah, like what are his utopian sides, because all of this is basically all negative things about the world and how how science affects it, how feelings affect it, how going against society can be a little bit frightening and sometimes dangerous. So it's really interesting. But you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll give a little background, because I feel like tackling a historical figure like Plato, kind of they have to set your mind and his like field or where he grew up. But this book was published around 380 BC. Don't know how accurate that is, and don't know how accurate the Wikipedia search was that I looked up for. But during this time, Plato, from understanding, he was one of the early philosophers, which actually took philosophy as like a course of life. It was his job and things like that. He got paid. He was pretty wealthy, is what I got from that. Anyone feel free to check me. But he bases a lot of his work on Socrates, who came before him. Now, it's important to realize when reading this, I'll maybe bring that back up later, that Socrates was like a stonecutter or something like that. So like really like poor, like bottom of the barrel in society, like not well known. But Socrates started the Socratic method of like talking about everything. And the Socratic method, reading this, because obviously you need some more knowledge, I got into that a bit, and that's actually super interesting, and that's something we're actually kind of doing. So in the Socratic method, from understanding, it is you go about trying to convince others or change their views on certain topics. But the Socratic method is to be gentle, not forceful, ask questions, and then if they deviate from a topic, you bring them back to the main problem. So that's the Socratic method, is basically instigate a person to think through his own thoughts, and start questioning his own mind, so that a conversation or an argument or anything can be expelled, or I don't know, like come up with.
Yeah, so you can dig deeper into the meaning behind
stuff.
Anything, literally anything.
But interestingly enough, a character in this book is Socrates. Now, in this book, no one really knows if it's the actual Socrates that he's referring to, because, did I mention that Plato was a student of Socrates?
No.
Yeah, sorry. He was a stonecutter, really poor, but then he started thinking, and started this method of instigating people's questions. Then Plato was a student of his. Now, this is important, and it will come up again. Socrates was executed for going against conventional thoughts and basically instigating the public to do bad things, in their opinion. So yeah, that's a little bit of background. Then Allegory, not sure how you say it, probably different all over the world.
Yeah, I think I've always heard allegory, but...
Allegory of the Cave. So an allegory is like a story, but it's not just the story, it's where everything or most things inside the story are symbols.
Yeah.
So it's symbolism. A great example of an allegory is Narnia. Like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yep.
And
Great movie.
most people know that it's an allegory for Jesus' story as the lion is Aslan, Peter is Peter, things like that.
Well, they also say that it's an allegory for Harry Potter. Have you heard that?
Narnia is an allegory for Harry Potter.
Yeah, have you ever heard that?
No.
Like,
that sounds absurd.
like all the heads of the houses, like Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, Gryffindor, like it's all the two brothers and then the two sisters are the heads of the houses. So I think his name is Peter, is like Gryffindor, Peter Gryffindor, and Edmund, and then Susan, and what was Lucy. Yeah.
I watched that film so much when I was young.
I don't think I've watched it as much as you, but I did see that recently, that there's some connection where they're saying that, oh yeah, it was actually a prequel to Harry Potter, and those were the people who started Hogwarts.
That's a conspiracy in my opinion, but
yeah,
fair enough. Now I don't know how we want to tackle this, because going through the allegory, I kind of have to go through the whole thing.
Yeah, so I was thinking the same thing when I was reading this book, because it's the same thing. It's a story, fictional story that is filled with all kinds of lore and symbolism and ideas, and so I was like, this is a lot different than the books that we've been doing, because the other ones are kind of systematic in their thoughts.
Could, like, nitpick different topics to fit each other.
Yeah, we had like the 7 habits and 12 rules. It's pretty obvious. What are the 7 habits and what are the 12 rules? We can dissect those individually. This is kind of all at once. I think maybe we can just start from the beginning of the novels and the stories, because mine kind of builds on itself. So it follows the train of people, and their thought processes change, and but I think like the overall message is clear in the first chapter of the book, first couple chapters of the book.
Okay.
So I mean, I guess we can just
just
dive into.
Let's tackle that, and then we'll just stop, think.
Yeah.
During the phases, and talk about what our opinions are and how we view this.
Yeah, I also think that it'll be very interesting, at least from my book, and I think your book too talks to, going against societal norms and the ways that people think. And I'm interested in how we can relate these to some of the books that we read last week, like how the mind works, how our minds are tricked by like propaganda that we see. I think it's going to be really interesting to kind of play on those connections.
All right. So let's start with yours.
All right. So mine is, like I said, a dystopian society that starts out with basically how people are born, and right off the bat, it's a futuristic society based in like 15,000 AF, which is after Ford, Henry Ford, or no, not Harrison Ford. That's the guy who plays Indiana Jones.
Oh, right. Well, he's a good character to face off to.
Yeah, 15,000 after Indiana Jones.
So he's not dead yet, is he? So we still got time.
Yeah, Henry Ford. Henry Ford, the guy who invented the assembly line.
Yeah.
So it's based after that, and a lot of how they run through life is kind of like an assembly line. They're very systematic and organized in how society is run. So starting from when you're born, they separate classes, and there's no such thing as motherhood. There's no mothers, there's no fathers. They're basically all babies are created in a lab, and they inseminate an egg and create twins. Like I think it was like 92 sets of twins from a single egg. So I guess it's just 92.
I feel like I've heard of this concept somewhere.
I don't know.
Was this ever made in a movie?
I might have. No, I don't think that was it. It might have been like a show or something.
Anyway.
Possibly. But they then separate them, but they make them into, basically, they create people, and how they're separated is how their biological makeup is made. So they have like alphas, betas, deltas, epsilons, like all these different groups of people, and they are literally made to do certain things. So like
this does remind me of Divergent.
Yes,
Yeah,
a little bit like Divergent.
Like 4 different groups,
Mm-hmm.
and you were like born, your genetic makeup is that group. You will be this.
Yes.
You will be that.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's crazy.
And they condition the children in different ways based on their class. So I think this is part of one of the reasons that it's banned, probably. Like the first thing that they do with children of, I think it was like the Delta group, which are supposed to be people with they should have like low intelligent jobs, and they don't want them to kind of expand their horizons, learn different topics, learn different, like, they shouldn't know math, they shouldn't know like English. They literally electrically shock the kids when they look at a book. They show them a book, and then they shock them, and it's like negative association, negative word association.
That's
and
our podcast last week.
Yeah, messed up. But that is how they're conditioned. They're like, these people won't need this in their life, and we don't want them to even think about doing it. So they'll condition people based on what their jobs are supposed to be, and so then they'll grow up and grow into different classes.
That's like an interesting thought that is this far from the future. Whereas I feel like a lot of kids have negative connotations with school right now. School and teachers and reading and things like that. And there's like, when you go about school, there's always the downers that would basically be the loudest and say how much they hate school. You rarely ever heard about someone that's like, oh, I love to go to this history class, love to go to this math class.
Yeah, true.
It's people that's always like, ah, we've got history right now. Or,
yeah.
And I wonder if that's not actually has the same effect on kids of today.
On how people like view school.
Yeah.
Because they hear other people like, oh, I gotta go to history. So you have that negative connotation of like, oh, well, this history must be bad.
Negative word associations with certain classes.
Yeah.
Like science, blah, 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 blah.
No, it definitely could be. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's how people's minds worked. And it's like, if you reinforce these negative connotative words, is that a word, connotative?
No.
I don't even think that's a
connotation.
Word. Yeah, negative connotation word with something, then people are going to be like, oh, yeah, like their mood is going to change based on how their friends react to that, based on how other people around them react to it, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know how far we are from.
I think we're pretty far away from electrically shocking babies so that they don't like books.
Okay, fair enough.
I hope that we're very far away from that. But there's so that's the conditioning side of how they get people to, conform with their group. And then they also have this basically a drug where anytime they feel like what they're doing isn't right, where they feel any kind of sadness, they take this tablet. It's called Soma. And it's a drug that they made so that people will never feel sad. And so anytime
That's crazy.
Yeah. So anytime they like start thinking in a different way, they're like, oh, Soma. And it's like that conditioning of this makes me feel good. And they load these people with dopamine. Like,
are these still the same like deltas, or is this everyone?
Everyone.
So everyone takes Soma.
I think it's everyone. Because they want them to be happy in what they do. So they don't want them to be like, oh, well, I wish I was an alpha, or I wish I was a beta, I wish I was a delta. What's that song? I was just thinking of a song in my head that was going. Never mind, off topic. I don't know. But they don't want them to think outside of their group, so they'll give them these somas that is a drug that makes them feel good, and then like at night they'll speak into a loudspeaker all night long that says like, oh, betas are bad because they do this, like this is in the alpha household or whatever. Betas are bad because they do this. Deltas are bad. I'm so glad I'm an alpha. Or in the beta household, they're like, I'm so glad I'm a beta. All night long, constant repeat, like very just small phrases that are just on loop. So it's just ingraining it in their heads.
That's nuts. Yeah.
This is the way that it's good. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Okay, I'm gonna blur the line just a little bit here.
All right, go for it.
Keeping an open mind. Was it like, how it almost seemed like a shock to you? Not a shock, like, oh wow, like ingraining in their mind. And what did the other book call it? Anyway, but that same experience that I just had now, and that you probably had when you read this book about like, wow, like that's kind of messed up. I felt something similar when I heard about the kids in school in America having to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh yeah.
Like
you guys
stand up and you have to.
You guys don't do that?
No, definitely not.
Huh.
So like, I'm wondering if I would ask you to compare like this versus the Pledge of Allegiance, what's similarities and what's differences?
Well, so I mean, they're very similar actually, because I mean, one thing is you're saying everyone stand up, say the Pledge of Allegiance, like you're thankful to be in America, great place, and you're thankful to everyone who served, and I mean
pledging
allegiance to America.
To America.
Yeah, and so I mean it's definitely similar to like what they're saying in this is where I live, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I'm happy about it. That's an interesting, very interesting like connection right there. So do you guys do anything like that?
Not at all.
You guys just have like your national anthem?
Oh, even every day. We had.
Well, no, not every day. Just.
Yeah.
Like that's your.
We'd have like assemblies, which is like the whole school gathers on Mondays and Fridays, and on Fridays, generally, if I believe, we would sing the national anthem. But the Pledge of Allegiance is.
So, you came here in college.
Yes.
You guys did the Pledge of Allegiance in college?
No. That's what I said when I heard about the kids doing it.
Oh, okay. I was like, I've never heard of a college doing that.
Do you think it's right for kids to actually do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Now we're really blurring lines. I mean, I think that I think personally, like I think that we should thank those who served before us.
Is that because of the propaganda, the Pledge of Allegiance?
I don't know if that's why I think of it, but that's how I feel. Like, to me personally, that's how I feel, is that we should pledge the people who served before us, that sacrificed for what we have today. But it is ingrained in you, like, pretty early. And it's not till recently where people are kind of going against that norm.
Really?
Yeah. Like, you haven't heard about any of that?
No.
Like, there's people who now I think kids can like tell their teacher, I don't want to say this, and they'll have them like go out in the hallway or something during the national anthem or Pledge of Allegiance, and like they don't need to do it. Or like Colin Kaepernick would kneel during the national anthem, and that was a whole uproar. Did you hear any of that?
I heard about the kneeling for the national anthem.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about anyone against the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, I don't think everyone's forced to anymore. I guess I actually don't remember if we were actually forced to or we just kind of did. Like if it wasn't until someone was like, I actually don't want to.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not in the mind of a 6-year-old anymore that says I don't want to do this. But
interesting how it does. It does feel a little, from an outside perspective now, it does feel a little propaganda-y. Having people like, we are the greatest nation, blah 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 blah.
I don't think we say that in it.
What is it actually?
Oh, dude, I haven't said this in 9 years. Or no, less than that.
The thing is, you say that. I haven't said this in 9 years.
But I said it every single day.
No, but if you're the first like word, you'll probably.
No, I mean I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. I think I missed the part. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know if I got that right, and I might have just disgraced the the Pledge of Allegiance.
But the thing is, you know it, which is it's ingrained.
Yeah, it's somewhere. I mean, we I remember for Boy Scouts, it was a badge requirement. Like, so to get a badge, you had to recite the national anthem, or not the national, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I can't say I've heard of any other country around the world with schools that does anything similar.
And I don't think I knew that.
I don't know. Well, let's move on.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Really, really blurring the lines early on this one. But
it is
you know,
philosophy.
it is philosophy. We're gonna have to, look deeper into the meaning of everything and anything. Like last week, talking about how your mind works and how it's tricked almost every day. If you haven't watched that episode, go check it out. Really interesting, really fun to talk about. But I think there's gonna be a lot in here that kind of relates to it, and how our brain is just tricked a lot of the time.
So we ended with them playing this tune every night in the houses.
Yes.
Alphas are the best. Betas are the best.
Right.
Deltas. What's it? Deltas and epsilon.
Delta and epsilon. I think those are the different groups. But yeah, there's so many different things that they condition them with of like out with the old. Anything that's old, get rid of it. They had a saying, I forget what it was. It's not ingrained in my mind like it was in theirs. But it was basically over the loudspeaker, the director. So there was like the director of the hatchling facility, and then there was the controller, what he was called. And over the loudspeaker, they would speak this like, if it's got a hole, it's old, or something like that. And
I swear I watched a movie similar to this.
Maybe.
I'll Google it, but I'm listening.
And so anything that was old, they got rid of. They would talk about the olden days, and which is basically how we live now. And they're like, yeah, people would fall in love and then have children, and there would be mothers and fathers. And to test them, everyone would be like, oh, that's disgusting. That's so weird. And they're like, nice, good. Yeah, that's bad. We get rid of that. That's old. That's not how we do things anymore. And so anything that was old, they wanted to get rid of it, forget about it. And they also used it to build the economy. So it's like, if anything's old, get rid of it, buy something new.
Oh, I see. So like if you wore a shirt for like 4 times.
Yeah.
It's old.
Yeah,
Like,
or if it had any kind of rip in it, any kind of stain, any kind of...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Speaking of economy, so we're shooting this in January 4th. Oh, it's insane how much purchases for Christmas boosts this economy.
Yeah, did you see the stock market? Like it was
insane.
insane. Like right before or right during the holiday season, up until what, like a week ago or so, week and a half ago, and then and especially with the Fed saying they were going to cut rates, like all of that just, and now we're back going back down.
Everyone realized how much money they spent and how much they boosted the economy. They're trying to do the January spend less, make budgets.
Yeah, the New Year's resolutions.
Now we're crashing.
Yeah, now we're crashing for a little bit. Who knows what's going to happen?
So
I mean,
it does make sense just from a practical perspective. If, let's say, we bought like everything every day,
yeah, the economy would go up.
The economy would flourish. But
Yeah.
the cash flow through this economy would be crazy.
Until everyone's poor.
The thing is, everyone would be buying. No one would be hoarding. You know?
But then what happens to all the old stuff? There'd be so much old stuff. What, does it all go to landfill? Like, where does it
I
go?
don't know. What does the book say?
It doesn't. It just says, if it's old, get rid of it. Whatever their term was, whatever their saying was that they put over the loudspeaker.
I don't know. Shoot it into space. They probably like burn it for energy. They're living like what, 15,000
AF.
AF.
I think it was AF. Yeah. After Ford, I think it was
1500 AF.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely have some nuclear power plant that like just absorbs trash as a form to produce electricity for the nations.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but it's basically just like Pavlovian conditioning is all this society is. Like Pavlov's dogs.
No. Let me know. What was that?
So Pavlov's dogs basically he trained them to ring a bell every time they needed food, and so every time they rang this bell, he would pour food. And then over and over and over, he repeated that until he didn't have to do that anymore. And they would ring the bell, and then food would come. Or they knew that that meant food. Is that what it was, or was it something else?
Actually, I do remember now that you're saying. I think the study goes where he was looking at the secretion of saliva.
That's what it was.
Every time. So every time the bell rang.
Yeah,
they would get a snack or
he
something.
fed them, and then after a while, they knew that bell was food, so yeah, they would start salivating.
When the bell rang, the dogs would start salivating in anticipation of the food.
Mm-hmm.
So the brain made a connection between ringing the bell and eating food, so having to produce saliva.
Yeah.
So what we're referring to, sorry, what were you saying about? This is Pavlovian society.
So that's one of the ways that they get people to do what they want. Like that Pavlovian conditioning is like the book and the electric shock.
Oh, yeah.
So they associate something bad with books, or something good with soma.
Oh, the drug.
Yeah. So I think they talk about a bunch of different ways that they get people to do things. But yeah, it's yeah. The goal is to make people like their inescapable destiny, is what it said in the book. Yeah. Brutal.
Well, for us, it's brutal.
So that's the overarching thing that I want us to think about during the book is it better to be happy or have free will? Just keep that in the back of your mind while you're listening to this. You guys keep it in the back of your mind while you're listening to the rest of the story. But I want to leave mine at that, and I want to jump into yours, unless you have something to just kind of chat.
I think it'll probably be better if we just
kind
work through yours than work through mine.
Why?
It's just the way. It's hard to break mine up.
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with that.
I mean, every brick builds on the other, so it's hard to stop building in the story and
fair.
continue.
Yeah. What were you gonna say before though? I stopped you.
Remind me, what was I saying?
So I said, keep in the back of your mind. Is it better to be happy or have free will?
Oh, right. Because as children, we do not have a lot of free will.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we do have free will in general things like if I'm gonna pick up my clothes, blah 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 blah. But I would say generally, you're under the will of your parents. Your parents tell you to not do this. You generally don't do that. But interestingly enough, most people regard, or at least in my experience, most people regard their childhood as some of their happiest times. So, my question is,
because before we had free will, we were told what to do and how to do things.
Does free will and happiness go together?
That's what I want to think about throughout the whole story. That's the overarching question, and
I don't know if it does. Speaking from my perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it does.
I'm not sure if it does either. Even after reading the book, it's still very much a philosophical question that you can't just be like, oh yeah, or no way. It takes thought, and there's goods and bads to each side.
But if we go back and just look at different scenarios of free will versus not, I generally think a lot of the time when people govern, so I'm associating governance with free will.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why is we can say we have free will right now, but there's consequences to our free will, which makes it kind of interesting. So because a third party steps in to any of our actions,
mm-hmm.
I don't know if we really have free will.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a kind of out there example, but I have the free will to go kill someone or shoot someone or something, but I won't because there are consequences in our society because of third parties and people.
Right.
And I feel like generally, the more governed people are, the better the society flourishes.
And and that's interesting because of, the time that we live in now there's a lot of controversy between the government should control this, the government shouldn't control that. There's a lot of different things where people think that there's over governance right now. And I think, the way that this book is where it's over governed, but people don't realize it. So have you ever watched The Truman Show?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So that for those of you who don't know, it's about this guy who is in a TV show, and he thinks that everything he does, everywhere he goes, it's him doing it. He does basically the same thing every day, and he loves it. He's happy. He's jubilant. Like, it's awesome. But when he realizes that, he's inside of a TV show, and nothing that he does is ever reality. Like, he's walking down the street, and every day at 2:00 he goes and plays volleyball or something. I don't think this is actually the movie. I'm just using it as an example. Every day he goes and plays volleyball, but he realizes this, and he's like, I'm not going to do that. And so people start following him, and he's like, let's go play volleyball. Let's go play volleyball. Let's go do this. Let's go. Come on. And they start dragging him over to play volleyball, and he's like, I don't want to anymore. Yeah. And the whole thing erupts into chaos. And go watch the movie. It's a really good movie, very related to this book and the idea of free will or not. Because when he didn't know that there was something else out there, he seemed happy. And the way that this book is 98% of the people are happy. They take this drug, they feel fantastic. They're getting loaded with dopamine left and right. Like, it's a very over sexualized society. So everybody is just with everybody. There's no monogamous relationships or anything. And it's just that dopamine rush to your brain. Like, that is what the society is built on. And they frown upon being alone. You have to always be with other people, and not like a sexual way. Just everything needs to be done with other people. They have games and sports and all these different things that are forcing them to be with others. And again, rapid amounts and copious amounts of dopamine to just make everybody happy all the time. No one's ever sad. So in a world like that, where they don't know any better and it's all great, and they don't think about the past, they're not taught anything else, they're conditioned to do what they're to do, no one questions it. It's just what it is. So in that case, I don't know, is that so bad?
I don't know too. I do want to just put a marker on this point. I was going to bring up the Truman Show too, as a part of my analysis of Plato, but the point where, is it really that bad to live in your own reality?
Mm-hmm. Do you think it is?
I don't know. For my book and the situation my people are in, probably. But coming at it from your perspective,
what position are they in?
No, I'll get to that later.
Okay.
That makes sense. Just remember the Truman Show, and is living in your own reality really that bad?
Mm-hmm.
As a concept.
Okay.
But I'll get to that later. I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, moving on.
You said from your people's perspective, it's bad, but from mine, you're saying maybe not.
Yeah. If you're in this reality, obviously, as a 21st century thinker and brought up in 21st century, I expect everything to be like us, like we are living now.
Right.
So I expect monogamous relationships.
Yep.
Something like that. Like, oh, that's kind of nasty. And I expect less governance
mm-hmm.
and all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
But then you take it back 700 years, 800 years to Pompeii, where all those people basically also didn't have, not all those people, but it's known as a city of lust, where everyone would basically just have relationships or relations.
Yeah.
If you understand what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no monogamous relationships there, but to them it was also completely normal.
Right. And that's how it is here. These people just think it's normal. So, like you said, thinking about it or reading it from a 21st century perspective, everything about it is dystopian, right? It's not how I would want to live, but I have knowledge of something else.
Yeah, and even if I'll add to that, even like Egyptian times. So they have these different groups, and some of the groups you said have to remain uneducated to like do the hard labor. But Egyptian times, they also had the Hebrews as like slaves. So they had this group of people which they specifically bred to do the hard labor for them. So dystopian, I know it's based in the future, but
yeah,
to me it kind of relates to a past just as much.
Well, it's also his perception of dystopian. So again, he's writing it, but he has knowledge of other things, of other ways of living.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to take your brain and shut it off. Like, shut off everything that you know about the world and just try to see it from the perspective of someone that doesn't know anything else.
Yeah. Why do you say that? Oh, what do you mean by that?
So, like we keep saying, we're in it from a 21st century perspective. This is abnormal and not great. But even from Huxley's perspective, he was writing it in, I don't know when the book actually came out. I know he was like a early mid 1900s writer. I think he died in like 1960s or something. But he's writing about a dystopian society on his perceptions of life. So based on his philosophies of free will versus no free will, he's saying that this is a dystopian society, but he still has knowledge of his own life.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're 21st, he's 20th
We
century.
probably agree with some things that he disagreed with at the time.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, based on some of the things in this book and the time period, disagree with some things, but it's still taking the idea of just the overarching idea of free will versus happiness, or free will versus no free will. That's the overarching thing that you need to think about during this book, and that's it. That's everything else, and how it's done and what's done. Yeah, no one's gonna say like electrocute babies, because we want them to have bad association with a book or flowers or something like that. No one's gonna say that, or I hope no one says that. But they don't know any better.
Okay.
Did you want me to continue with the story?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of all the background, and then they get into some of the main characters. And so this guy, I think his name's Bernard. He is kind of an outcast in his group. So everyone's made basically the exact same, but he's slightly different. He's slightly an outcast. Like everyone's like 5'6" to 5'8" in the alphas, for example.
Pretty short for an alpha.
That's not the exact height. I'm just saying, like they're all the same height. They're all relatively the same.
I mean, that's good news for me.
But he's kind of an outcast, and he is walking with this girl, and he's like, oh, this is nice, like let's talk about this, and how would you feel about like running away with me? And she's like, no, that's weird. Why would we do that? And he's getting all sad, and she's like, here, take some soma, and then
it is Divergent. I swear it is.
I haven't seen Divergent in a long time.
We'll watch it.
We'll watch it after this. Okay. I mean, it's similar for sure. If it's the exact same,
might be based on this book.
It might be. I mean, it's about. Isn't that about like groups, like combining though? No?
No. That's all the outcasts that combine. And the people that want to run away.
Mm-hmm.
So all these Bernards.
Yeah. Well, it's basically him and like two other people that are, or one other guy that are outcasts, or just think differently. They think differently than everyone else, and they kind of are like, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something more. So he takes Sonoma, I think is her name. Lalina. Where did I get? Oh, Soma. I was thinking of the drug. Lalina, whatever. They actually do go away. They go to the Savage Reservation, is what it's called, to the civilized people. So the civilized people are all the betas, alphas, all them. And then they go to the Savage Reservation, and it's all like people are monogamous. People are fighting, are angry. There's emotions, and they're like, what's going on? This is weird. And Bernard's like, yes, I knew it. There's something. And so they end up finding this guy, John, and then his mom.
They
Huh?
still have normal names in the year 14. The name John will never die.
No, it won't. It'll always be like top name on every year.
Yeah.
And then they meet John and his mom, and his mom grew up in the civilization. She was born in civilization, and she's like, I don't know what's wrong with these people. Like everyone in the Savage Reservation is like wrong. It's so weird. I had a child. I'm a mother. Like, what's wrong with me? And John, born in the Savage Reservation, he doesn't know any better. He's like, Mom, this is great. This is like who we are. And so all his mom wants to do is go back to civilization and get Soma. They don't have Soma like in the Savage Reservation. So like she drinks a lot of alcohol, and so it's basically like a subtlety of their drinking alcohol. Like he would say, yeah, she'd laugh for a little while and then wake up and be super sick the next day, and basically she's hungover. And like she would get in trouble and get beat up by other women on the reservation because she didn't believe in monogamous relationships.
Oh, so she'd like try and get with husbands.
With other people's husbands, and so she was an outcast for sure. She's an outcast there. Yeah, she was an outcast for sure. And the way that her story goes, and what Bernard realizes is that her the person who she came here with, and who ended up being the father of John, is the director back at the hatchling facility. Lalina, they go back, but they take John and his mother with them. And when they get there, John is just known as the Savage. So they're like, let's see the Savage. We want to see the Savage. And
so are they like allowed in?
Yeah.
So it's not like Hunger Games districts where District 12 people need to stay in District 12.
I guess not. I mean,
so they could like intermingle and stuff.
No. Well, I guess it's not clear. So the director didn't want him to go to the Savage Reservation because he said his last trip, he went there and he went to bed and he woke up and his the girl was gone. The girl being John's mother. So they actually had a child. And so the director came back, became the director of this hatchling facility, and what was his name? Bernard brings back John, and John's mother is like, oh, whatever his name was, I missed you so much, like, don't you remember me? And he's like, no, get away from me. And his son is like, Dad, and everybody goes nuts. Everyone's like, what, like, you're a father? That's disgraceful. You shouldn't be that. Like, that's horrible. And he basically has to just leave his position. as the director, because now everything that he's ever preached and believes in
and
does is he went against everything.
I'm glad in the dystopian society people still recognize hypocrisy as bad.
Yeah, like they
Like if I was to write a story of what I envisioned a dystopia, the worst future would be, I think a lot of my characters would be hypocritical. Don't you?
if you were to make a dystopian society, most of your characters would be hypocritical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be true. I mean, if you're preaching one thing and doing something else, that's frowned upon.
Yeah.
In our world.
In our world. That's what I'm saying. It's interesting. We might just have looked over it during his writing.
I doubt it.
But that's an interesting aspect to save of the people. Or maybe it's because the controller? No, no.
The director?
The director is supposedly a high in power, and even hypocrisy is bad. And even in the future, there is hypocrisy. Okay, yes, it can go either way.
Yeah, I think any way you spin it, the hypocrisy is bad, but being a higher up makes it more. A light is shined on it a lot more.
But I expect hypocrisy in a dystopian society.
Yeah.
What didn't throw me off, but what threw me off of the story is why the characters in the dystopian society saw hypocrisy as bad. Like
I don't think that they thought it was hypocrisy.
No, from his writing.
I don't think that they saw it as hypocrisy. I think they saw it as he's an outcast. You're doing things wrong. You did things wrong. Maybe we view it as hypocrisy, and maybe the way that I think about it is he went against what he's actually doing.
That's hypocrisy.
Yes, but I think the way that the people viewed it was, you're wrong. You shouldn't be our director. Like, you're an outcast. You do things wrong.
Yeah, but I think what I'm getting to, now that I have a more clear train of thought, is where he is trying to write a story about what the worst civilization could be, in his opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting that the characters in his story, so he wrote it that the characters recognize hypocrisy and act upon it. If
I get what you're saying.
In the author's position,
yeah,
the characters would recognize hypocrisy, but recognize that he is the director and not care.
Oh, I see what you mean. So the fact that they don't take his power into consideration, they just say, you're a hypocrite.
Get out. You're fake. You're blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Which is something we would do in our times.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a major case of hypocrisy, you're canceled nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, again, being a higher up and a light is shined on you.
Yeah.
For sure. Agreed. Where was I? So they brought him back. The director was found to be the father of John the Savage, and all John's mom did once she got back to the civilization is take Soma and lay in her bed. That's it. That's all she did.
She didn't tell anyone.
Tell anyone?
Of the outside world.
Because she's still, in her head, it's bad. In her head, that entire time that she was there, it was horrible. She didn't learn this is another way of doing things. She always wanted to go back.
Jeez.
Because there was sadness in the other world. There was anger. There was...
yeah, I'm going to mark this thought too. So this is the second one that you have to take into consideration, which is going to apply to my story. And the thought you have to mark is even though people got exposed to a different reality,
Yep.
They still go back.
Mm-hmm.
Just mark that thought.
Okay. Are you marking these thoughts? Because I
Yeah, no, it was definitely very prevalent in my book.
But John was born in the other society.
Right. John the Savage.
So, he thinks the civilized world, or the civilization, is weird and bad and like doesn't make sense. He's like, I have no emotion here. I have this is horrible. Like John actually ends up falling for Lenina, Bernard's girl that he went to the reservation with, and she likes John. John is like, I love you, and she's like, ooh,
what is love?
No, let's just like be together. And he's like, no, like I want to get married. She's like, no, like let's just be together. And
Romeo and Juliet type of vibe.
I don't know if it's exactly Romeo and Juliet.
Well,
They loved each other.
No, Romeo and Juliet did too. But
No, Romeo and Juliet loved each other. Lenina and John did not. John loved Lenina. Lenina was with other people and also wanted to be with John.
Right.
Because of her societal norms. And John was like, no, this isn't how we should do things. Like this isn't what I want. So he just shuts it down and stops. Huh?
What a man.
Lenina wants to be with him, but not in like a monogamous relationship or anything.
Yeah, but she's doing that to someone else too.
Yeah, because everyone in their society is doing that.
Yeah. So
John is the outsider.
I guess my question is, from her perspective, you said that she doesn't love John, but she also wants to be with John.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that be with John mean just sleep over?
Yes.
Type vibe?
Yes.
But him specifically is what I'm getting to.
Yeah, she thinks he's attractive.
But the other 4 guys are also attractive.
Yeah, because they're all alphas. And he's the son of an alpha.
Oh, right.
I didn't even think of that connection. They went back. John's mother got really sick and ended up dying. And he is broken up about it. Absolutely like mortified. This is horrible. You're my mother. These people don't have mothers. They don't have connections with anybody. They don't have relationships. They don't have sadness. So what they did was they brought people in to watch her die as conditioning. And
like younger people, I would assume. If it's
yeah, I don't remember if it was younger, but it might have been. And he was like, help. And yeah, there were younger people there. And he was like, help, my, like she's dying. And everyone's like, shush, you're gonna ruin the conditioning. And then so someone died, or she's dying, and they played like happy music. So they wouldn't feel sadness when someone died. It was like, oh, they're supposed to. It's time. Yeah.
Everyone dies. Yeah. Everyone dies.
Everyone does die. But we have relationships with those people, and it's sad.
Why do you think we place such high emotional? Let me just catch my train of thought. Like, why do you think we put such high emotional energy into people passing on?
Because it's sad.
No, but again, from their perspectives, like, yes, it was a relationship, but you also had a relationship with a couple of hundred of friends that you saw in school and college. But that wasn't sad the last time you saw them.
If they died, it would be.
No, but I'm saying you haven't seen these people. Probably hundreds of people you had relationships with.
Yeah.
Not like mother, but like, say, like a friend in
Yep.
high school and college. You, like, statistically, you'll probably never see them again.
Yep.
but there's no mourning. So effectively, on a relationship basis, they are dead to you. They have died to you.
Yeah. But they're still there.
You don't know that.
Okay, they might be still there. And I think you put higher importance and, what'd you call it? Emotional effort? Energy into, like, if your father passed away, that would be tragic for you if you had a relationship with him. And like I don't understand what you mean. Why we put like you put so much energy. You put so much energy into the relationship to begin with.
Yeah.
And then when that ends, let's just call it a conservation of energy. That energy's got to go somewhere, and instead of giving it to them, it's mourning.
Yeah. The question is, why do we experience it as a tragedy?
Because they're no longer with you. That piece of whatever it may be, whether it's like your morning phone call on your way into work, is no longer there. It's going to feel weird when you can't call them anymore.
Yeah. It's just why sadness?
That morning phone call brings you joy.
Why not like anger?
Sometimes it is anger.
It's mostly sadness.
Sometimes it's anger.
Or joy.
I don't think
Sometimes it's joy.
Sometimes it's joy, I guess. Sometimes it is not all sadness, but some like serenity that they're at peace now if they were in pain before.
I'm guessing from a philosophical aspect, isn't like living the most painful thing you'll ever experience? And
I don't know, I haven't died yet.
Huh?
I don't know, I haven't died yet.
True.
I could die and it could be really painful.
But it's constantly there.
Yeah, it could be constantly painful.
For eternity.
For eternity.
That's called hell.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just interesting.
I just think that if that morning phone call, you call your mom in the morning, every morning for 5 years, and then that phone call brings you joy. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I would think, like, if you're not happy with it, don't do it. But if that morning phone call brings you joy, now that joy is gone. That same joy cannot be replaced. That same joy is not coming back.
Yeah, but what if your mom calls you every morning and it really annoys you every single morning? Like, oh, hi, mother, blah, 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 blah.
That's because you take it for granted.
But then that same frustration is not going to be there.
If it really annoyed you, I don't think you'd answer.
I don't know.
Like, I think anytime someone passes away and I've heard them say, oh, I miss the way that they used to do this, and you're like, oh, I thought that really annoyed you. Yeah, but no, I miss it. Like, I think if it truly annoyed you or made you upset, you wouldn't do it.
It's just interesting how we are orientated. Like, why? We could be in a society where it's so normal to celebrate someone's passing because we can move on to the next life where everyone is tearfully joyful, where they're so excited they passed on. I could see that as a cultural norm in a society, but it probably is in some other cultures. I don't know. From a philosophical aspect, it's where I'm coming from, since we're tackling philosophy. Again, going to the book, the mom.
Yeah.
It's a simple answer. She just wanted to go lay in her bed. That it's a simple answer that she's accustomed to. Now, who says all simple answers isn't just accustomed?
Yeah, I mean, questioning those simple answers is what philosophy is.
Yeah.
Like it's pushing that boundary of what do you think you know?
Yeah.
Now let's harp on that, like that Socratic method.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're implementing right now.
Yeah.
Well, like, why does it not make sense to you? Or it does make sense and you're just trying to you're trigger happy with your Socratic method.
That's what I'm it's not me trying to convince. It's me questioning why we believe the way we believe things.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I will also be sad if my mother passes away. I'm not saying I'm gonna be joyful and give fireworks.
No.
I'm not crazy. I'm just, to us, that small story was so weird. And I guess the root question of what I have is, why is that so weird?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't conditioned with death being a positive thing.
Yeah.
Death, you go to a wake and you see people crying.
Yeah.
From however old you are when you go to your first wake, you get there and you see people.
Everyone does wakes, if you didn't know that.
Wake, funeral.
Yeah.
Like whatever you go to. When you go, you see people around you crying. Maybe that makes you think in your head, I should be crying.
Yeah, an interesting thing would be, and I don't know, but I'm wondering if there's like a society like an Eastern European or like Far East like country, or even like rural like tribal type society that celebrates people passing on. And what I'm saying is, I can see that being a norm, just like our norm is sadness.
I mean,
I wouldn't be shocked if I hear about like the Avatar people from whatever planet they live on celebrating the death of theirs.
I mean, we did a celebration of life for my grandmother, but it was more of a like in remembrance.
Eulogy.
No. A eulogy is a speech.
About a person that passed.
Yeah, this was like a celebration of life. So we had like people at a restaurant and talking. I mean, I guess you could call it that. It wasn't like it was just all sadness. There was like speaking on past memories that made us happy. So there were laughs, there were tears, there was a mixture of emotions.
Yeah.
Is that what you're...
I don't know. I'm like, let's take that analogy a little bit further and be like, there were laughs, there were tears. Did everyone have laughs, and then did everyone have tears?
No. Some people were closer, some people didn't connect to a story, some people didn't share in the memory, and maybe it was you had to be there kind of thing.
Yeah.
So no.
But
I had friends there that didn't know her. So, they were probably less emotional about it, but they were just there to support me.
yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking like some people, and if they go into like other people's minds now, found let's just say found a whole celebration of life like really enjoyable, and it's truly like a good time, and they laughed a lot and stuff like that, and other people found it like really teary. Now in this like dystopian society, what if you put all the people that like celebrated the life in one pen, and all the people that like experienced the sadness in a different pen? basically get to where these people are.
Yeah, you could. I mean, there's definitely people mourn things in different ways. Some people,
Yeah.
I mean, some people mourning is sadness. Some people are laughing at old pictures. But I don't think the root emotion is happiness when you're laughing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people are laughing like, oh man, I'm so happy that they passed away. I think that was a happy memory that brings joy to me, but your level of emotions is not joyous. It's based like sadness, but you're laughing.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's jump on to the next topic. I feel like we're dwelling on this too long. That's a little about to cover it.
I agree. So where was I? I don't even know where I was in the book. She died.
Yeah.
So John's mom died, and he was sad about it, and other people were like, no, stop being sad, you're gonna decondition, like you're gonna ruin the conditioning. So they played like a happy tune during the death, and to condition that death is fine, it doesn't matter. And afterwards, let me think back. Afterwards, John went kind of on a rampage where he went into this building, and people were lined up for their soma doses. And he was like, get these out of here. This is horrible. These are, there's a brave new world out there, like a brave new world. He kept saying that. And he's like, stop taking these. These are bad for you. And so he was, people were sent to beat him up because of he's messing with the society. They actually, everyone kind of started getting angry. Everyone was starting to get really, really frustrated and mad, all the things that are bad in this civilization. And so they basically sent out a gas form of soma to everybody. And everybody just started getting really happy. People started kissing, and everyone was giddy. And even John was like, not so bad. Why were we so mad? And then the people that came to get John, and Bernard, who I haven't talked about in a while, and their friend Hemholes, which I haven't mentioned.
That
really.
sounds like a futuristic name.
Yeah. I haven't mentioned him at all, but he's a character in the book. And they are the controller is like, you need to come with us. And he's like, okay, but not fighting in on nothing, because probably got hit with some of that soma. And so they get in, and the controller says, Bernard and Hemholes, you guys need to be sent to an island away. You guys have creative minds, and we can't have that here, so you need to go away. And they're like, why? We don't have to, we shouldn't. And the controller was like, it's okay, I had a creative mind. And then they see that he's got a load of books, and he's got not Othello. He's got Othello and Shakespeare, and he's got the Bible, all these historical books that are said to be bad, old, get rid of it. And John is like, why don't you show this to people? This isn't
again, hypocrisy.
Yes, the entire thing is the controller, but he says that the idea is he was a creative person. He was given the choice of get sent to an island or become on the path to become a controller. And he did that, and now he's the controller. And he said, being the controller, you have the choice to give these books or build society, and this is the best way that he sees society to run. And he's like, why would you not want to be happy? And John's like, I like emotion. Emotion is good. I need anger. I need rage. Like, I need sadness. And he's like, why would you ever want to be sad? Here you can be happy all the time. And he's like, yeah, but I'm in love. And he's like, why would you want to do that? Like, that doesn't make any sense when you could be with whoever you want. And he's like, but I want the choice to have a job that I want. And he's like, why? Again, why would you want to do that? You are built for a job. You're built for this. And John kind of moves on and on about all these things that are the free will versus having everything in life decided for you. And he was like, people are conditioned to not read books because they shouldn't be educated. They don't want them educated. And those people are happy to do their job because they're deltas. They're happy in what they do. But we've tried having a group of all alphas. Because John said, why don't you make everyone an alpha then? And he's like, well, if you have all alphas, then no one wants to do the grunt work, or no one wants to work in the hatchery. Like, we have an island out there that's all alphas, and they broke out into a civil war because no one could decide on the division of labor. Exactly, because they're all made to do the same thing. So that's a really interesting topic.
Yeah.
How our society, if we were all the same, people say like, oh, well, it would be great if everyone was educated, or everyone went to college, or everyone went into a trade, because then we'd have, more electricians, more plumbers, more buildings that we could make, and more infrastructure. But then you also need people to work in those buildings. You also need, you need to fill it with corporate space. You need to fill it with industrial space. You need people to manage those people, to make sure that they're doing it properly. So that's a really interesting topic, is how...
That is an interesting topic, and I'll tell you why. I'm kind of enjoying the fact of his dystopia and bringing it back to our century.
Yes, I agree.
And I think a lot of the time, we are kind of in a society where everyone is told you have to go to school and you have to go to college to get a degree.
Yep.
You have to get a degree to do anything successful.
Yep.
And it is causing problems in our society. There's not enough electricians, there's not enough plumbers, and things like that, which are like trades too. Yeah, so like, I don't think that is also too far-fetched. Like, we're implementing it right now. We're forcing kids to go learn science, biology, math, basics.
Yeah, but I don't think that...
Like, I don't know what the alternative would be.
I think the alternative is to let people decide what they want to be. How does their brain work? Because right now you're going through school and you're taught the exact same
Stuff.
Johnny, Jacob, and Jessica are all taught the same things.
English,
for
science,
exactly the exact same way too. If you're in Miss Jenny's class, I don't know what's up with me and J names right now, but if you're in Miss Jenny's class, then you're gonna learn this way to do fractions.
Yeah.
You're gonna learn it the exact same way. You're taught it the exact same way. And that learning style doesn't work for everybody, which we talked about, last week, about like ADHD and how to cope with those things, and how we found ways to work on that. But the same learning style doesn't work for everybody. These people are literally genetically made the exact same based on what they are supposed to do in society, or what society needs.
Yeah.
So if society's running out of deltas, we need to make more deltas.
Yeah, but our society only accepts these people, and there are people right now that's not made to go through school and go through college and pass college and whatever.
Correct.
They're in my opinion, they're doing far better, like doing a trade or something like that. But our
Yeah,
society,
starting a business, doing a trade,
yeah,
going
our
like
society forces that aspect on them.
they push college for sure.
Yeah,
They
so-
push that if you want a high-paying, good job, you need to go to college.
Yeah, but then like for example, most people except for Steve Jobs and Bill Gates or all I don't know, everyone that dropped out, but most people that drop out of college or school is considered like mentally like inferior, like dumb, like does not really get successful in life.
Yeah.
Our even our like jobs nowadays is so like forced into the system where if you don't have a degree, they don't even like want you close.
Yeah, I mean, I think that again it goes back to what you're taught in school. Some things just aren't interesting to people. Like math is not interesting to you. So you're going to do bad in math. And you want to do woodworking. Like you find wood very interesting. And none of your normal classes are going to be that. So you're probably going to do bad in your history class. You're probably going to do bad in your English class because that's not what you want. That's not what interests you.
Yeah.
That's not how your brain works.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And unfortunately, they have more regimented structure. Like we do this year, so no, we made people so that we can do this job.
Yeah.
I think our society is we have this job, so we need these people, and everyone that don't fit into that category is considered outcast or dumb or.
So it's interesting because I'm just trying to think into the future for a second. Not this far into the future, but
Bias Harrison Ford.
yeah. Into the world without an Indiana Jones, where our society pushes college, right? And I feel like that's been an upward trend for a while, where like college was not a norm for our parents.
High school was.
Yeah. Now high school was, college was not. That's only one generation, and now we've pushed it, and now more and more people are going to college, and more people are getting that education, and their ideals
And masters.
and
The amount of
masters.
people getting master's degrees now is actually like insane.
Yeah, but that mindset is now instilled into this generation, and then you go into the next generation. The odds that those kids have a parent that didn't go to college is dwindling, is less than the generation before, where this generation was like some of the people who were successful and were like, you don't need to go to college. I didn't go to college and I'm successful.
Yeah.
And they can instill that on their children, and maybe their brain, because they have a similar genetic makeup to their parents, that their brain works similar, and then but now that's going to be less than the next generation, which most of these people went to college, and now their mind is filled with, you need to go to college to be successful. So they're going to tell their kids, you need to go to college to be successful. Or one parent went to college and one parent didn't. One parent outweighs the other. That negates them, and now that's one less person you have in the world that is pushing not to go to college. That you don't need to go to college to be successful. You can go into a trade. You could go into like a literature field. And I don't think you need college to go into literature. I think you can read and write and be creative, maybe take a couple classes if you want to, but do you need like a full degree to write a book? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so too.
But I think that's going to dwindle. And that, you saying that, this is not far-fetched, it's almost pushing into the Civil War section, where we're pushing everyone to be the same.
Yeah.
But I also think in another sense, to get away from education, we're also pushing individuality in a social sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just putting out a bunch of things.
No, I agree with that. It's from I was speaking from like your job.
Yeah, an educational sense.
So, educational sense, your employment sense.
Yep.
Stuff like that. That's a funny topic to touch on, is how all of them like are the same, but everyone tries to be like unique. special. You're one of a kind. Like there's no one like you out there.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, statistically, there's probably a bunch of people like you out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. The social one is quite interesting. It's there is almost like a civil war nowadays on the like social aspect front of beliefs and things like that.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking of that kind of civil war. When I brought up civil war was based on the book's sense of what happened with the Civil War. So all the people were the same. All people were the same, so they made a civil war because there was no division.
Oh, right.
So I was talking that in the educational sense. So if everyone has the same mindset all the time about education, people are being built the same.
Right.
Built the same.
Right.
And that's a ways down the line, but I feel like that's kind of the trend that we're pushing towards. In the other sense, from a social standpoint, yes, people's
The two extremes.
the very extreme beliefs are like the savage and the civilization. If those two came together into one group, like one country,
that's the United States.
it'd be catastrophic. Like they would still be so segregated.
Yeah.
And until they were forced to like intermingle, they would stay segregated. We are intermingled.
Yeah.
And do you think it would be better if one side of the country was like the eastern side was Democratic and the western side was Republican? And we never
Why don't we go with the eastern side, which is the right side, would be right, and then the left side would be left.
But if it was fully segregated, like if you're Democratic, you go live here. If you're Republican, you go live here.
I think that might honestly be like an interesting practice. Like
Just see what
get
happens.
like Wyoming or like some little state to just implement it and see how it goes.
Yeah, because I mean, there's
because unfortunately, I do think, at least from my experience, everyone that I've really talked to, I know very, 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 very few extremists, and everyone is really just in the middle ground. But because no one wants to waste the vote or how the system is set up, everyone has to choose a side.
Well, that's
like forced.
That's something. I mean, people say like their civic duty is to vote. If you don't know, or you're neutral and you don't have a preference, or you don't know which one you actually like more.
Yeah, or
people
you like the Green Party.
Yeah, but people
say, it's wasting a vote.
Yeah,
it's wasting a vote.
It's not. If you don't know, don't vote.
Yeah,
that's my belief. If you don't know who you're gonna vote for and you don't have reasons behind it besides like, oh, I saw maybe this thing that said I should vote for them, or all my friends are voting for them, so I'm gonna vote for them. If you don't know, don't vote. It's not a waste of a vote. You're doing your civic duty by making an educated decision.
Yeah.
And not voting.
I think, yeah.
But
the better. The problem is that, from my perspective, the problem is there's a left and a right, and then you've got these stages of voting. Right?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, there's like this social pressure that if you vote for a different party, it's anyways going to go to waste because either the left or the right's going to win. So there's the social pressure of don't waste your vote, just vote for either the left or the right.
Oh, so you're saying people in like an independent party where there are actually other options besides the Democratic and the Republican side, but people say, well, if I vote for the Green Party, then it's not going to win, so there's no point in me voting for it.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yep.
So
sorry, I was off on that.
That's why I was low-key like really excited when Kanye West said he's gonna run as president. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Not because I think he'd make a good president. I think he'd make a horrible president. But my hopes.
We love you, Kanye.
My hopes were that enough people actually voted for him for the meme of it, that people actually saw that, oh my gosh, like
another party can win.
There is actually a third option, so that the next elections, it's not a halfway split.
Yeah.
Now that there's 3 different people, meaning it doesn't have to be these extreme views on things. There can be the one that's like, hey, like I'm slap bang in the middle, like.
Yeah,
some of
I
this,
agree with some of this, and that's where I say. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very true statement. I mean, it's always 49% here, 48% here, 1% here.
Yeah.
Like there's really no,
like imagine counting it like
it's like 30%, 20%.
20, even 20%.
That'd be massive.
People, the people would realize there is a different option.
Yeah. Can you name the other party?
Green Party.
Yeah.
And
No. Who ran last election?
No, but I also can't vote here, so I have no interest.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's fair. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, but it's also not covered on the media, which goes back to our previous episode on rhyming.
Well, they also have, I think the Republican and Democratic Party are funded more, so they can.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more people. 50% of this country
True.
would support.
Yeah,
the
and
funding.
they have more solicitors. I wonder how many solicitors the Green Party has.
Not enough. I can tell you that. Not enough.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that would be a really interesting social experiment if you said, so the other thing that you have to think about
Kentucky,
is
top half, you're right. Bottom half, you're left. Here we go. Civil War.
Well, the thing is, you have to also think about where you are in the country. So some people, they prefer to be on farmland. So you have to put them in farmland country or farmland states, but not together. So like some people can have Iowa and some people can have Wyoming, but one is red, one is blue.
Oh, so you give them an option.
Well, you give them an option of what climate they want to be in, but they don't get an option of they know what party they're a part of.
Oh no, what I meant an option is,
I like this topic.
No, you give them an option of what party they're a part of. But let's say you live in Texas.
Yeah.
Or no, let's go completely. You live in like Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in Massachusetts, you have to be right.
Oh no, I don't think you should do that.
No. If you live in Massachusetts, you have to be right.
Yep.
Or vote for the right party, basically. But if you don't, if you're left, you have to live in Idaho. So you give the one state that have to.
They have it. So it's not like if you live in Massachusetts, you're Republican, and if you're a Democrat, you have to go somewhere else. They're saying Massachusetts or Idaho, pick one.
Yeah. Right governor or left governor?
See, I don't think that's the way to go, because you're saying go from one climate to a different climate.
No, I'm meaning like the same climate.
Oh, I don't think Idaho and Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm not that.
I would just say Massachusetts is like Connecticut.
Well, what is the?
Oh, I guess yeah,
across the line.
yeah, because you're saying yeah. I got you, because you're sticking with maybe it is just state borders.
Yeah.
But they have to be like a checkerboard. I don't think you can have like red, blue, red, like surrounding them. Like I don't think you could do that to people. Because I think that's how a war would break out, and it's like, oh, you're powerless unless you bring over all these people from the other side, and they. Yeah. But we have a wall blocking them. Yeah. But I think that would be a really good social experiment if you said, all right, if you're an independent, you have to pick from these what? Ooh, it's 50 divided by 3. It's like 15-ish, 16. You have to pick from these 16 states. If you're Republican, you have to pick from these 16 states. If you're Democrat, pick from these 16 states. And you just go.
Dude, there would be no one in the Green Party 16. I would love to live there.
No, I think
more people would vote green.
I think more people would go green. I do. Because
that's crazy, dude.
Because I don't think that there's there are people who vote Republican or Democrat for the reason that you're saying. They don't feel like they have a choice. Their Green Party isn't going to win. This is just saying, who do you want to live with? Do you want to live with the extreme left, the extreme right, or the people that are in the middle?
Yeah, okay. Phrasing it like that, I think only the green
It's going to be all green, and there's going to be like one person per state. No, I mean, I think I think it's more and more where I think there'll be a lot of people in blue, a lot of people in red, and I think there'd be even the most in the green. But I think there'd still be a lot. I think you could still populate.
Yeah.
I want to see that. If someone can make that happen for a year, make that 2025. I think that would be freaking interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen? Do you think? Because there's two ways I see this happening. One, people are so happy to be with people that are like them that it's amazing. Like they don't have to worry about. They have their own government. They can have their own government, and they don't have to worry about the other side at all. Or they get so annoyed that they're with people that are so like them. There's no arguing. There's no like.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be bad. I don't know.
A really interesting aspect would be is to monitor the financial situations of each of these states. Because I feel like every single time election comes around, the left party just basically tears the right party's like financial plan for the next 4 years apart, and the right party just destroys like the financial plan that the state or the president would have for the next 4 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like there's always like not enough money in military, too much money in military, not enough money in schools, too much money in schools, not enough money for too much taxes, not enough taxes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I would love to see how the financial outcome of that would be.
I think it would be.
I don't think you should give an opinion here. I think you should.
No. I wasn't gonna give an opinion about the economy, because I think.
Or like
I don't.
Free healthcare. That's a big one.
That is a big one. That's a big. So I want to know what the tax difference is gonna be.
Yeah.
On one side or the other, like one side is gonna be taxed like nothing, and the other side is gonna be like 80% taxed.
You think so?
Yeah. If one side is like free healthcare, I think they're going to be taxed a ton.
No.
Why?
Because the side right now that says free healthcare is like, why do we have a military? And your biggest expense, basically, your biggest budget expense is the military right now.
Okay.
Which are taxes,
so
by the way.
No, I know.
I think the tax.
Maybe it would be an even split.
Will remain very,
so
very
just one half would be invaded early on, and the other half wouldn't be. The other half would be sick. Yeah. So basically, what would happen is the United States dies off.
No.
And the independents
remain.
Well, let's make it. Let's see what happens. If anyone picks up on this podcast and can make that happen.
If anyone can make like a simulation
of
some kind, that would be
that'd be cool.
Insane. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Brain Games, go do it. Or what was that show? It was like 100 people. What was that show? It was a Brain Games type of show, but they would like take 100 people and they would do like gender battles. They would do brain teasers and just see what 100 people thought. So if they could.
I don't even know what Brain Games is. So.
Brain Games we literally talked about in the last episode, the TV show. No, but there's whatever that show is. If someone could comment it down below, it's 100 people that they would split into Democratic, Republican, and Independent, and I want to see that in a simulation of 100 people. What happens, and see how it plays out.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Anyway, off that topic, let's get into your box. I think that was the biggest thing, and the big part is, is it better to be happy or free? Is what the coordinator or what he was.
Is that how it ended with him questioning the controller guy?
The controller. Yeah, pretty much. They ended up like sending him away. There was like people who went to go like see the Savage, so they made it kind of like an amusement thing, which is pretty messed up. And then he ended up committing suicide.
The Savage?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of how much like.
Did they put him like in a zoo? Like
That's what it seemed like to me.
why didn't he just go back to the savages?
I don't know. Maybe I don't think that he did. No, because people would go and they would ask him like do things and whatever. It was really weird, really messed up. I think from any perspective that I can see, like you should not be singled out like that.
Yeah. I'm wondering why. Like if he. Yeah, they probably held him captive.
Yeah, I did listen to the end of the book very, very quickly, as it was today. But that was basically how it ended. And the bigger part of the story is, and what I want to focus on, is all of what we just talked about. You know, the free will, how different people are literally made, like the monogamous relationships, the conditioning, the never sad, the drug, like the soma, all that.
That's
But it was a very interesting book. There's a lot more to it that I did not get into because, you know, I can see why it would be banned or want to be banned, but also I want to say it in like a sense of it's a dystopian society. So all the things that he talks to are supposed to sound bad.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the worst of the
Yeah. So I think it's weird that I understand where people are coming from when they say they want it to be banned.
That's what I want to ask you on.
Yeah.
Because from your like little refresher of this thing to me, or little going
Summary?
through the book, it doesn't seem like something that would reach like top 10 books to be banned.
I did leave out a lot of stuff.
So I wanted to know, like, from your like opinion, what are some things, like, why do you think it should be banned, and why do you think people are banning it? Like, it really doesn't sound as bad, and I'm pretty sure I've watched the movie. I'm pretty sure Divergent's very similar to this.
Yeah.
So
I think it's from a social aspect. You know, we live in a time where, you know, this was written in early to mid 1900s. I'm not exactly sure of the date, but it was written early on in the 1900s, and some of the discrimination, the sexualization, you know, whether it be gender or race, like there's a lot in there that probably people don't want to expose others to, but I think you need to go in with a mature mind and think of it from a philosophical standpoint. Like, I spoke to everything in this book. I didn't say a race, I didn't say genders, or tried not to. Like, it's about the principle of the book, free will. Like,
does the book speak about race and genders and things like that?
It hints to it for sure.
Oh, okay.
So there's yeah, and I think I understand it, but you have to think of when it was written, and also, again, it's a dystopian society.
Yeah.
So it's being told as a problematic society, and I think people maybe think that it's, you know, it's only dystopian because they didn't have free will, but you could think of the whole thing as dystopian if you want to. So it's really how you think about it. And I think, again, shutting off your 21st century mind and looking at the bigger picture of what is the lore of this story. It's kind of like a fable almost. Like, it has there's a bit of a moral compass that you need to look at when reading the book and think, you know, okay, what is he actually trying to say in here? Forget some of the other stuff. And maybe it is a book for only people 18 and up. I don't know,
that's what I'm thinking. If from my understanding, you said the book is wants to be banned out of the country or out of like schools.
Let me check, and we can maybe we can put it on the screen when I find the page. So, I already had the page pulled up. So, Brave New World among top 10 books Americans most want banned. Banned in Ireland when it first appeared in 1932 and removed from shelves and objected to ever since. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World is still making waves today. The novel is a dystopian future, was one of the most complained books in America last year. This was from 2011, with readers protesting over sexually explicit scenes, offensive language, and insensitivity.
Okay, on those three things, who's the new author that is like popping off?
Rick Riordan.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Female author, I think, who's writing all these books about like relationships and basically love, and has a ton of explicit scenes that all like TikTok famous.
Oh yes.
I'm said Ridley or Riley.
No. Oh my God.
Right. So,
Heather.
Google it quick, but
Yeah.
as I speak,
I guess we'll use Google this episode.
These books are like trending right now, and it's basically like lustful literature that is Colleen Hoover.
Yes, Colleen Hoover.
Colleen
Thank
Hoover.
you. Yes.
Yeah, Colleen Hoover. That is
Why could I not think of that?
super explicit books. They're super explicit.
Correct.
They describe everything. So for like explicit in the sexual aspect, I don't agree with. How bad can a book be? Or do you think that, in your opinion, this was too explicit?
I think
Like, if you're reading the book,
some
you
of the
go with your mind.
sexualization is too much, in my opinion. Mainly because age is also a factor.
So, like, young and old.
No, like just like they one of the things that they taught was like young people were getting together.
Or, like, under 18.
Yeah, and it was just like normalized, which I mean, again, like in the past, people would get married at like
14,
13.
yeah.
So again, you need to think of the time. Again, I could see where people are coming from. I just think you need to, I don't want to say turn a blind eye to it, but you need to focus on the story, not the specifics. Like, I could barely remember the people's names because they don't matter to the story. I could have made up a bunch of different names and said, follow this character, and that's the name that you should follow through the story, and you'll understand the story. If I gave you no names, I could have explained the whole story.
Yeah, probably. It's just, I'm struggling to grasp. Okay, I haven't read the book, but what parts of it does actually put it in a category where the book itself should be banned? Like, understand people's dislikes.
Yeah, I want to read more on this band piece, because if it's in schools.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. So if it's in schools, it is super explicit, it is vulgar, it is crazy. Like, sure, ban it, but if you're banning the book, you're basically just affirming what the author is saying, and the government is controlling what you read. I don't know.
I mean, also, even on this list is To Kill a Mockingbird.
Why? Racial?
Yeah, that would be my guess. It doesn't explicitly say here, but that would be my guess. But I mean, I read that when I was in high school.
Just like the highlight of that book.
Yeah.
It's weird to me, like, yeah, I don't know.
So, let's see. Brave New World. Oh, the only thing it says is insensitivity, offensive language, racism, sexually explicit.
I can name, there's probably a million books that have all of those.
Yeah, there's probably a million, books, movies, a lot of what are they called?
Works.
Yeah, I guess a lot of different outlets of creativity spark some of that. stuff.
Yeah. But
Like,
I don't know, like,
again,
you
if you
bought that
took-
because you were reading,
The Hunger Games is also on here.
like, I'm gonna say it again. Don't you think it's funny that if we actually ban this book, we're just affirming what the author is saying about the government taking control of our freedoms?
Oh, you're blurring the lines again.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a lot of
Like,
things out there that are. I don't know if it's all offensive to the people reading it. You know, I don't know, but I think it was like the Washington Redskins. Like, I could be wrong on this, but the people that complained about it were not even Indian.
like indigenous
Yeah.
Americans.
Yeah, like they weren't Native Americans. And they were the ones that were complaining about it. But Native Americans weren't complaining about it. So I don't know who is the one putting it on this list. But I think, again, like the Hunger Games, right? How?
It's a multi-billion-dollar franchise now.
It wanted to be banned in 2011, I guess. Didn't work.
I think in this book there is some concept or idea of either like freedom or not. Or
And Twilight was on this. Number 10 was Twilight.
It's probably banned for kids.
Yeah.
It's probably banned for
It had to have been, because I think if you are an adult, I think you can read this and, you know,
yeah.
push some of those things aside to not let it bog down the story.
Unless the idea of it is like a threat to like the nation.
Yeah.
Like if you're in Germany, again, this is a very like out there example, but it's just example. I don't think you can write like Nazi propaganda anymore, and I don't think it should be out there.
Yeah.
And I understand that being like banned.
Yeah.
Like specific hate for specific races or anything
Correct.
like that. Like sure, like ban that, but banning a book based on it being what I experience it as just out there and makes you just think a little. That's I don't know if that
Yeah, again,
qualifies.
it's a philosophical book. Like, you're not
Yeah.
reading it for
fun.
the specific content of it. You're reading it for the overarching picture, the way that it makes you think about things. That's why you read philosophy. That's
Yeah.
why it's taught. It changes the way you think.
That's what I'm saying. If there's something in this book that would, if everyone read it, that would change the way they would view, let's say, the Western world.
No.
If there was.
No, I'm saying, I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'm thinking back, and I did not think, this did not change my view of people or like specific groups of people, or it made me think about the things that we talked about here today, which none of it I think should be banned.
Yeah.
I did not think we should be electrocuting babies.
No.
I knew that, that's bad. This is what they do. Wow, that's crazy. Oh, conditioning.
Yeah.
And then you relate it back to, our world and how we get conditioned.
Yeah.
How we get
about to say,
primed.
like, we get conditioned not on that direct way,
No, not in that, extreme.
extreme way, but
All the time.
everything, like,
All the time.
yeah. It's crazy. Anyway.
I mean, we were just talking about like marketing strategies. We're conditioned with I don't know. They get these catchy things in your head, and I think like if you go into Moe's,
a really, really, really good example of American conditioning, and it's like so ingrained that it's barely like advertised, or like it's definitely you're definitely I'm gonna say promoted. What's insinuated? Is that the word? To do it.
Instigated?
No. Anyway, the word just left my head. But the picture.
Encouraged?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay.
The picture of Americans' white picket fence house, where every person should own a house, is completely utterly out there. Actually, if you go to more Eastern or Middle Eastern or some of those societies, those people get filthy rich families because they believe that your family lives in your house. So I have a house. If I have kids, I'm building 4 more rooms for him and his wife, and I'm building 4 more rooms for my daughter and his husband, and then they're building onto this house. So the wealth remains within this family.
Yeah.
Where in America, it's you need to buy your own house. Here is your FHA or FSA, your first home. FHA home loan, where you can get a discount on your loan.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. And if all of that just contributes to loans and the economy in a way where you basically build up so many loans that most people have to work all their life to make enough money to retire, but there's so many loans that you have to work to 65 to afford retirement.
Right.
So all these loans, student loans, any loan backed by the government, in my opinion, might have an alternate motive of keeping the people in the workforce. That's another just blurry line of mine.
Yeah.
I understand,
Yeah, I mean, we need to have people in the workforce. We can't just have people.
The more people you have in the workforce, the better the economy.
Correct.
It's correlational.
Correct.
Now, the richer the people get, and America's a rich country, the faster they can retire. Meaning, don't have to do work and just go on safaris. The less people in the workforce, the worse the economy.
Yeah.
So we're incentivizing, that's what I was getting to. Incentivizing student loans of $250,000 over 4 years.
Yeah.
And home loans, everyone has to have their own full house with yard, attic, pool. I don't know if that's nice to have, but I don't know if that's actually how we as a people are meant to live.
Well, that's when we were hearing today that people who are married earn more than their single counterparts. If I were married, I would earn more on average than you would as a single person.
Yeah.
And that seems wild to me, but my argument, my piece on that was, if you're earning more, are you spending more? Because now you have to buy a house for you and your wife, or you guys need to buy a house with each other, which means you need a bigger house than someone who's maybe just a single person. So you may be earning more, but you're probably spending more as well. And again, that trickle down effect of if you earn more, then they want you to spend more. So they're gonna pay people more who maybe need that money if they're married or if they have kids. Then they need to spend more, and to your point of keeping them out of retirement for longer.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting society we live in right now.
I think it'll always be an interesting society. I don't think it'll ever be mundane.
Good.
Wow. I don't think interesting is bad. I think it's just how our brains are not trained by one generation. Our brains did not start thinking this way like that.
What do you mean this way?
So, if you're saying that we need people to be in the workforce longer to keep our economy running, that wasn't a last 10 years thing.
Oh no, how long has white picket fence propaganda been played?
Right. Exactly. Generations, it's not, but that's what I'm saying. It's not overnight. So I think we're always going to have an interesting society. I think the way that we think may slip into different paths, but it's not going to be like tomorrow everybody's going to change their way of thinking. Everyone's going to retire at 40 and we're all getting $1 million like next week. No, that's not going to happen. And if it does, that means something else is, our brains are shifting into a new interesting society.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Let's dive into your book a little
let's
bit.
Wrap it up for part 1 for this.
Okay.
Philosophy.
All right, you're gonna make me wait.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you wait.
Okay.
This took quite a substantial deep dive.
I kind of figured it would. I mean, we're talking about some deep topics that you can't just brush over.
Yeah.
But I think it was a really good discussion, and I think I'm excited to hear about what Plato had to say, and I feel like there's probably a lot that we kind of already hit on a little bit. Right or no?
Some, no.
Really?
Yeah. Plato has a lot to say too. Shorter story, but less details, but a lot if you just sit and think about it. So, yeah, we'll dive into Plato in part 2. Just follow to the next episode if you've listened this far. Please give us like, subscribe, please share this with everyone that you. What's up, blurbs? Thanks for staying with us to the very end. This was part 1 of our 2-part series. Part 2 will cover more of Plato's book, which is Allegory of the Cave.
We hope you enjoyed this episode where we thought, we pondered, and we sought to understand. Please join us next week for part 2 of this series. And don't forget, stay curious, stay inspired, and blur the lines.